What's up, fam? We are back for another episode of Recap Kickback. I'm your host, Chappell, and I'm bringing you another TV series review, this time addressing something that is near and dear to my heart. That's right, we're talking about Black Twitter, A People's History on Hulu. This is a documentary that we were told is going to talk about all the intricacies of Black Twitter, how we got here, where we came from, and what's happening next. And I was very concerned. I was thinking, oh no, not my baby, not Black Twitter. We don't need to talk about this in front of everybody. But they did. They released the series. And so now I got to talk about them talking about it. And with me, my normal co-host for most of the things we do here on Recap Kickback, Tyrone is back. What's up, T?
What's happening? I'm here to talk about Black Twitter. I'm here with a different perspective because I didn't jump on Black Twitter early on. So
Yeah.
I'm a late adopter, I guess, of it. So I'm interested in everybody's historical reference with Black Twitter.
Of course, yeah. You weren't with us shooting in the gym, so I need to see what you think about some of these older Twitter tales that I'm sure we're about to get into, Tyrone. But Nicole, I know you were out there. I know you was in these Twitter streets. We have Nicole from Black by Reality back again. Nicole, welcome back.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk about this. So many throwbacks with this documentary. It does make you think of your own personal history along with the timeline.
And again, I'm very interested because we've been on Twitter for a long time. They talk about the dates. They go way back to the heyday of Twitter. And I'm thinking, man, has it been that many years? How many sagas, how many eras have we done on Twitter? It's really time to break all of that down and talk about, our perspective of this and how the documentary covered it. And for the first time here on Recap Kickback, we have Jay West from the Wild West YouTube channel. Jay West, what's up, man?
What's up, everybody? Yes,
welcome.
I'm thankful to be here. He pulled me straight out of Black Twitter, actually. So that's I feel like I'm still stuck there.
Yeah,
I'm kind of like Tyrone though. I hopped on it late, but I always knew about it. So I'm thankful to be here. This is gonna be a fun topic. I'm excited.
Yes. This is gonna be so fun. I've been trying to get Jay West on for a while. Jay West has a project that I'll let him talk about a little bit later on in the podcast coming up. And so we're trying to get this collaboration going. I'm very excited that we got here, but we do have business to handle. First and foremost, thank you all for listening. A lot of people tuned in where we got into some Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef last time. I had a big panel discussion. It was great. We talked about Beyonce. That was great. We got a lot of views, a lot of comments, a lot of subscriptions. We're creeping up on 1,000 subscribers, y'all. So keep that coming. Keep that energy coming. Share this with all your friends. Tell them to go to recapkickback.com/subscribe. Subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And then join us for some of these conversations. And I don't know, maybe one day I'll, pick you and let you come up here and talk about something that you're interested in because we're having a great time and everybody's invited to the kickout or in the kickback. But speaking of, okay, let's talk about Black Twitter, A People's History. This documentary, coming into it, a lot of people on Twitter were concerned. They were talking about, hey, is this something we should be even discussing in the wider media, right? Like Black Twitter was very much its own thing. Everybody we were in our own little bubble for a while. And then white people started slowly asking questions about it, poking around, kind of joining in the conversations. And now we have a whole docu-series talking about the rise and fall of Twitter and Black Twitter for that matter. Nicole, do you think this is too precious for us to be diving into in the form of docu-series this soon?
No, I think the endpoint that we have with this series, it makes sense why it was even done and why now. And I think a theme that we had throughout the episodes was Twitter wasn't made by us, but we took it and made it our own and grew it, basically. So we still feel some form of ownership. And I think no matter where Twitter goes from here, it's nice to have something that puts our stamp of we were here. This is what it is. And it'll be remembered then.
There were a lot of talking heads in this docuseries that, they're very respectable talking heads. There's some people follow and hang on to their every word. There's some people that these people don't like and they don't like their words or whatever. But they had so many big names that I felt like, okay, Prentice Penny's involved. Jason Parham's Wired article of People's History of Black Twitter is where they got this idea from. It feels like the roots are there to make this a decent docuseries that doesn't feel like, okay, we're pulling back the curtain too much and we're not doing our job as gatekeepers. But Jay West, what did you think? Did you enjoy this series and this history lesson in Black Twitter?
Yeah, I loved it because it seemed like actually the kickback. It felt like a conversation that everyone was just, shooting the shit about. And it was a big reminder on how important that, Twitter is and how people of color, us Black people, we are a big impact on the world. And I loved it because it shows how, social media is still a big thing, and the diverse everything is it was just so precious to me because I'm still a troll, and I'm like, yo, where is my people? Like, oh, it's X now. All right, damn, fuck. But I just loved it all already.
Yeah, it felt like a kickback in a lot of segments, even like you said, Jay West. Tyrone, they put them in little circles where they would allow these Twitter personalities who I don't know if they know each other in real life, but they got to sit them down across the table and really start to reminisce on some of Twitter's biggest moments, some of the social change that led to Twitter becoming what it became and then led to it now being X. But you're new here. You are a recent adopter of Twitter. You joined. You were instantly, I'm guessing, just engulfed in Black Twitter because it's hard to not be. What did you think? Did you learn a lot? Do you feel like you have a better appreciation for Black Twitter now that you've seen this?
Absolutely. I think it was a huge history lesson for me personally. All of the memes and the quotes and things like that I have seen before, but I didn't know the origins of a lot of these things. So to be able to see that, they want to take history out of schools in a lot of places. So, we got to create our own history. So I appreciate this docuseries. It was short. It was very entertaining. It didn't lose me in any part of the process. And so I truly appreciate it. I thought the amount of people that came and wanted to talk about Black Twitter was pretty dope as well. And I truly think it's probably a way for them to say, hey, don't go nowhere. We're still here. Like, let's revive it. Don't let that man take it away from us. It's probably where they're trying to go with it. So I'm hopeful, and maybe it'll come back, and maybe I can be a little bit more a part of it. Because I wasn't really a part of it for long.
I mean, that's a good point. The end of the docuseries does pose the question, what's next? Where do we go after X? Where do we go after? Is there a Black X? Is there, a new thing that we're going to adopt after that? And I personally am always looking for the new thing. I'm like, wherever it is, I want to be there and I want to find my community.
We tried it.
That's my question.
Clubhouse? That was
okay. There was Black Clubhouse for a while. Jay West, did you try to hop on one of the other Twitter apps? Was it Blitter? They had the other Black Twitter apps that popped up. What was the other one? Threads. I think. Well, no, Threads is Threads. Phil. That's the one.
Get Phil notifications.
I love the real. So when I don't know. Maybe it's me. Obviously, Black Twitter to me, isn't going anywhere. I know it died like to where people are so like where they feel like it's just our thing, but everyone knows about it. And it's dope because they can continue to keep talking. Yeah, he bought X and changed the name, but we still have so much proof that we have a say. Like they said in the documentary, they were pulling receipts. We still make a joke out of everything. It's funny because it's like a nod. Like we know what a nod means. Not everyone knows what a nod means. It's like we can invite our other friends, and it's like, yeah, y'all can come to the block party or whatever, but if we're gonna be busting balls the whole time, it's nothing serious to us. But some things did get serious, and we did have an impact on a lot of things. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's all jokes on Black Twitter, but Nicole, I did not make the jump to Spill. So I created a Spill account, but then I read the room, I looked around, said, all right, where my people at? And everybody had made the jump. So I kind of went back home, and it felt like nobody really left Twitter, to go to one of these other apps. Are you still getting the Spill notifications?
I am. It's like the little banners. They feel like advertisements because it will be like an obviously Black movie, and they'll be like, oh, come over here. And like spill your thoughts. And I'm just like, no, thank you. I don't know why it's still on my phone. I think it's like hope. It's like, I really don't like that man. But to me, I don't know. I'm still on Twitter. And it's Twitter. You still have to type in twitter.com to get to that. Not no X. So
Damn
it's going to be Twitter, and I'm going to say Twitter.
Right. His mama called
I don't
him
give a
Twitter,
damn about that
I'm
man. We're
call
gonna call this
exactly.
shit Twitter.
Elon Musk ain't my dad. He can't make me say nothing. But Nicole, why do you think Spill doesn't, I won't say doesn't work, but why do you feel like the mass exodus away from Twitter that everybody is clamoring for? Like, I will speak for me. The moment y'all tell me there's a viable option that we can go to, that I ain't got to deal with Elon's nonsense and all these bots and the nudes in the bio and all that stuff, bro, the moment, show me where the promised land is, Nicole, but why haven't we found it yet?
I think it has to feel organic. I think when everyone's talking about leaving and going somewhere else, different options came up, and then it was just everyone had, I think, a criticism for whatever the option was. Like, first of all, Threads is just Instagram, which is then just Facebook, and we don't like that man either. And then when it comes to Spill, I think the criticism I heard first was like how it tries to interact with you and get things going. It does feel like it's catering to Black people, but then I don't know if the creators are necessarily Black, which, like, Twitter, obviously it's not, but it's just, it already organically happened on Twitter.
I like it because I don't know, but I don't want to say nobody age. I don't know. I feel like it's just to where we're to that point now. We want to stay. This is our thing. We don't want to leave. We, like Chappell, you want to go to the next thing. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's like, you're going to start something new over there, and we're going to be happy for you. Just like the dude that was running Twitter left, but it's some of us that are still trolls, and we still feel like, Black Twitter didn't die. And there's still people here that you can come, shoot the shit with about like stupid things, because, this is the app I feel like that isn't really going anywhere, because people just, say whatever. They don't really take it too serious. Well, I didn't in the beginning, but now everyone, take every little thing you say, hold it against you. And it's like, just meet a person first, just have a real conversation with a person first. But if you're going to judge me, you're going to judge these tweets. You're going to judge my lyrics that I'm mostly tweeting.
I think in that same vein, man, I have a certain attachment to Black Twitter because, like, I grew up in a extremely Black family, like extra Black. But I went to a white school, and so all of the funny stuff that me and my family did, I just thought it was just something that me and my family did. I didn't know that other people made Color Purple a joke. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And then I saw it on Black Twitter. I was like, there's other people that laugh at this traumatic movie. It's just like my family does. That's wild to me. And so I just have a certain level of attachment to it because I didn't know there was other folks out there that appreciated the stuff that I appreciated as well. Even the off-brand stuff like Black Family, like we was talking about reality TV right before we jumped on the podcast and went live. I didn't know there was other Black people that watch reality TV until Walking Dead was another one. I didn't know. Game of Thrones, like they mentioned on the docu-series, I didn't know. And so I have a true attachment to Black Twitter that I don't know if I can get from a place called like Spill or anything like that. Like even when we went to Clubhouse, I spent time with the people I knew already. I didn't really make new friends, like I did on Black Twitter.
I made a few friends in Clubhouse for sure. But I think Jay West, you make a great point. We built this. All this is y'all see here, all this Twitter stuff. We built this. You know what I'm saying? So it does feel problematic to be like, all right, now we gotta go. We didn't build up this entire culture, the memes, the hashtags, all this other stuff. We get live interviews from the people who created the first like viral sensation hashtag, the memes. We see the people in the memes who are getting used all the time and their Twitter personalities, and they're like, okay, we did all that, we handed it to y'all, and now we're gonna leave. It does feel a little off. My issue with Twitter is always going to be Elon. It's not so much I don't feel like I'm supporting him or anything like that, but he's tearing my app apart. I used to love Twitter. I was on Twitter back in the day. They talk about it a little bit in this documentary. There used to be a time where the Twitter app, you couldn't even get it on all the phones. You would have to text to tweet. Nicole, were you around for the text to tweet era?
Absolutely not.
Let me tell you something.
Absolutely not.
The point, it was easier to text to tweet than it was to get online. So it was like, why would I need to go get on twitter.com when I could just boom, 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 boom. And it was like, boom, your tweet go out and you didn't have to worry about a timeline because you didn't know these people. You didn't know all this other stuff. And so as it starts to develop, it almost feels like there's like a little subgroup of Black people that have all found each other because of just lived experience, the hashtags and all that stuff. And it feels like, yeah, we're in a room where we're not the dominant population here, but we've all found our likeness. We're giving each other the head nods constantly. It's constant head nods throughout. And it's like, yeah, I don't want to leave that behind because that's what we do in real life. We're always giving each other head nods. When a Black person walks in the room, I'm looking at that Black person. I'm staring at them and I give them the head nod real quick just to see. Because I need to know what type of Black person, you know? I totally get what you're saying, but it was definitely it was so fun watching them go back and talk about some of Twitter's biggest moments. Were any of y'all around for the nigger navy?
No.
The Rihanna?
No, the nigger navy. I'm talking about.
I wish I was.
That accidental headline.
Yeah.
I didn't know what started it, so it was a nice recap when they explained how it started. But I remember that meme of the girlie in her bikini snorkeling, and she's just like, "I'm ready to be in the nigger."
Look, I think that might have been before your time on Twitter.
Definitely before my time. I never knew of it. This is great. And I don't know what happened to the guy who posted it for Yahoo Finance Twitter account. He's probably gone. He's probably gone.
Yeah, that man does not have a job.
He's probably gone. I wish the tweet was still alive, but they deleted that bad boy quickly.
Oh, they did, but not fast enough because screenshots work fast.
Exactly.
Okay? Yeah. Whoever deleted that tweet worked fast, but Black folks work way faster. Jay West, you brought up Rihanna. You talk about a Navy. This woman, she was a menace, a literal savage on Twitter when she was on. Were you around for the Rihanna days?
Yes, I was around for the Rihanna days because honestly, that was the reason why I actually got on Twitter. So I hopped on Twitter like in 2008 and I graduated high school in 2010, but everyone was telling me to get on because we can like see famous people. We can talk to them. They respond back. And to get on and see Rihanna in like, she's burnt out. We like, oh, that's just Rihanna talking shit. So, and then, like this fight with Ciara was so legendary because, that's when she was, she was still in her peak too. So people know who Rihanna was and Ciara was. So it was just crazy to see. But yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, Rihanna was cold-blooded. See, Rihanna beefed with Carrie Hilson, I think, for a little bit. She definitely with Tiana Taylor. That's where she posts her net worth next to her net worth. But my favorite one, I think it's TLC. I believe TLC had said something like, "Oh yeah, we don't really like the way Rihanna going with her music." And by TLC, I mean the two remaining members, obviously. And I think Rihanna posted a picture of them topless and was like, "Really? It's crazy that y'all like." And she made that her header. And she's like, "Oh, it's crazy that y'all feel that way, considering y'all topless for this photo together." And she was just on their necks. But that was my favorite thing about Twitter. It was this, Nicole, these celebrities were just a click away. You could say something to somebody, and then chances are they wouldn't see it. But what if they did? They were actually going to say something back. Now you say it to them, and everybody's got the filters up. I don't see no tweets about from people I don't follow. You just don't get that same engagement that we used to get, Nicole.
I don't know. I think when they brought up Rihanna's interactions, I mean, we just saw Kendrick versus Drake. A lot of that was through music, but there was still some tweets there. Black people were getting their jokes in, memes in, still are. Like, it's still happening. So, yeah, in a way, when Jack Dorsey was talking about how, Twitter is supposed to be this town square, in a way it did make celebrities kind of come down to our level a little bit. And that's always so interesting. Now that Rihanna's a billionaire and doesn't talk to us a lot, some people are like, you need to remember who Rihanna is.
Right. She's a real one. Jay West, I know you were one of the Drake defenders in the Drake versus Kendrick beef. They were saying a lot of those Kendrick disses were coming straight from tweets. I saw people searching the tweets, and that A minor line, it wasn't an original thought from Kendrick Lamar, apparently. So Twitter has been influencing the rap game too.
So yes, Jay West is my real name. I'm not Jay West Coast, but I do like Drake. But yo, Kendrick did win this beef. Let me just settle this. Like, yo, I was defending Drake because look, that's the person we all listen to the most. I was listening to the pod, but no, Kendrick was speaking facts because I feel like he was speaking for us, and it's dope that like Nicole just said, we got to see famous people go at it again through music, and because I felt like Kendrick really was saying things that we really could say, and then finally see Drake take a loss or take a hit. Let's see if he recovers. Like, we're all very tuned in now. You know what I'm saying? It's like, can he say anything? And now that we're in this so cancel culture worthy world, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know. I feel like Black people, we can make or break people in the career, but at the end of the day, like, we're so powerful. Like any app that we actually go to, by just being ourselves, we can shed light to it, to be honest. Like, you know, but Twitter, like I said in the beginning, like for this really is our thing. And I feel like we're just comfortable with it. But once upon a time, I got on TikTok, not knowing what TikTok was. And I blew up, just blew up off viral, being myself, delivering my package at work.
So you found Black TikTok.
And that's another thing. People say, no, seriously, I'm like, oh, you on the Black side? Oh, I'm trying to get on that side, and that's a thing. And I'm like, oh, I'm just talking shit over here, and I see the wild shit on TikTok. Tell me, I had you over there.
You gave me
I'm like, Black TikTok. What?
Yeah, what's that? Yeah,
you see everything. Everything's online.
You gave us so much to unpack there. I do want to. I put a pin in that. I want to come back to that because that's a very important conversation. I want to dive a little bit more into the Drake and Kendrick beef because Jay West makes a good point. It did feel like we were all involved in that. Tyrone, you've seen rap beef before, but you know, we weren't on a hip hop forum on a very specific page or anything like that, trying to put our comments in, creating usernames. This was, you know, Johnny from the Winn-Dixie, and then Crystal, who worked at the call center, and then homegirl, who's an accountant, all arguing over rap beef. And it's not just you and your friends at the barbershop, you and your best friends at the kickback. This is the world, you know, essentially coming together and having a conversation about hip hop, which is inherently a Black thing. So Black Twitter just takes two of the biggest stars and watches them fight. And we all had a front row seat for it just because of Twitter.
Yeah. All of the, like, I had, like you said, I've been in a lot of different beefs. I've heard a lot of different beefs. I remember Jay-Z and Nas vividly. I remember Pac and Biggie vividly. And this one just took it to another level because in all of those previous beefs, I just had the people that was around me to listen to the lyrics and then come up with our own thoughts and ideas about the lyrics and, you know, jibber jabber off of that. But now we've got different levels of thoughts attached to these lyrics. Some stuff that I didn't even think of, right? So we talked about hey, try to struck a chord and it's probably A minor. I was like, oh, that's a dope line. Then I hear, oh, the song's in A minor. What? I'm like, and I got that from Black Twitter. So it took the beef to another level, and it made it, along with the two artists that was a part of the beef, Black Twitter probably boosted it up to being what a lot of people would consider the best rap beef ever, and something that might not be topped ever. And you don't get that without Black Twitter. So I think, like we talked about before, is it going to go away? Probably not. I think people are just kind of like turned off by the owner, of course, as spots. But if we have another event, I'm going to look to Black Twitter first before anything else to get, you know, what I need to get out of it.
Yeah, great points. I used to talk to random celebrities on Twitter. I talk to everybody on Twitter anyway. Y'all see my tweets. But I used to talk to random celebrities to see who talked back. And I used to talk to Timbaland all the time. Just like he would respond to my tweets. I was like, oh, okay. So in my mind, me and Timbaland was friends. You know, it was just the way Twitter was, right? But now it's like, okay, these people might not be your friends. They might know better than to feed the trolls, as they say. So they don't respond to us now like they used to, but they know we're watching, right? So a lot of the times they're tweeting and stuff like that for our engagement, for our likes, for our retweets. So when Metro Boomin goes and says something, we put that Metro Boomin tweet with the rap beef and says, oh, you see it? They're still mad at each other. You know, you start putting the pieces together, and that's all a community built by Black Twitter. One of the other things they talk about in this documentary is the community that was forming in Black Twitter during the pandemic, right? When everybody was at home, when you weren't able to get out and see the people that you love and the people that you trust, and you couldn't get out the house, a lot of people turned to Twitter for community. It had gone from this smaller group, conversation to like, this is where you have to be at if you want to engage with people. And we end up seeing things like the versus battles that were done on Instagram. Jay West, did you keep up with the verses as well?
Yes, I kept up with the verses. So during the pandemic, I broke my ankle the first 6 months. First off, working in the pandemic was terrible as a delivery driver because people was ordering the craziest shit. Like I used to be like, yo, we don't know when we get money again. Y'all still ordering couches?
Nicole, I watched a lot of those verses, but every time I watch the verses, Instagram up on one side, Twitter app in my other hand.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I agree. I watched a few of them, especially when things weren't going well. That's when you have to hop on Twitter.
The joke.
So, yeah, that makes sense. I loved this documentary, especially how they went through time, and I'm like doing the math, how old I was and everything. This reminds me, we don't have things like I love the 80s or I love the 90s anymore, and how they did time so specifically and what was going on there gave a little bit of that. And it's important. We're talking so much about music, but like the things that the kids are saying on Twitter, which like that's another thing, is like Twitter is such a mixed bag sometimes that you'll be talking to someone and then you're like, wait, how old are you? Right, and it's like the things that they don't know because they don't have things like I love the 80s or I love the 90s anymore. I'm like, this is good. This is kind of like a return to form of studying pop culture.
No, that was a good point, because if you weren't here, then you probably don't know the level of community that was that Twitter had just like created during the Obama administration, and then of course reiterated during the pandemic and with the George Floyd and Black Lives Matter movements. Like we saw hashtags being just something that people joked about, right? Hashtag blessed and stuff like that. Just words that don't really mean nobody. Nobody's clicking on hashtag blessed to see who's all blessed today on the Twitter app. It was just things that people said and did. But Ty, this documentary stops down and really talks about during the George Floyd unrest and some of the other like tragic events surrounding Black people and police brutality, where those hashtags were war cries that got people to pay attention to the things that were happening in our own community behind our backs, right in front of our faces, that were being disguised in a very nefarious way as like, oh, well, things just happened. That's not how it went. All this other stuff. We get all kinds of misinformation, but Twitter was able to galvanize all those people and use hashtags to kind of encourage and empower people to stand up for what was right. And I don't think the kids know that unless they watch something like this, Tyrone.
Yeah, this was bittersweet for me to watch because my old ass was on Facebook during all of the George Floyd and all that stuff, right? And I'm sitting here fighting battles over there by my damn self, losing people that I thought were friends. All that type of shit was happening. And I got a few comments here and there from supporters, but again, it's just people that I know. And so this historical reference, and even going back and viewing some posts and things like that on Black Twitter, where you've got these swarm of Black folks around the world just supporting each other through a time where honestly probably went through a little mental health situation, right? Went through a little trauma myself. And I wish I had that support. So it was great to see that. It kind of put a smile on my face, even though I didn't get to experience it myself. I even shed a few tears in some of those moments as well on that second episode, because it really hit deep. And I remember those moments, and to have a conglomerate of people that was on the same side as you was special. And that's not something that I will ever forget now that I know the history. And I don't think anybody in Black Twitter will ever forget that, for sure.
Yeah, Jay West, were you active in the social aspects? Because I know you're a troll on Twitter. I know that. You're one of my favorites. I keep you around. But yeah, when it came to the more serious content for Black Twitter specifically, I think that the documentary does a good job of highlighting that Black folks, we gonna joke, we gonna get our jokes off. Everybody can get made fun of. You can be the next Jordan crying meme in just a second, no worries. But when it's time to come together, we really did lean on those hashtags for those social issues and for the movements. Were you a part of that as well?
Yeah, I was a part of that. Just like Tyrone said, like he spoke about like, you know, losing friends. Like I was a volunteer fireman for about 7 years around that time, and hearing people's comments like, oh, he shouldn't have, or his background, and I'm like, that doesn't matter, you know what I'm saying? And but now we're in the world that everyone sees it. We know it happens, and I'm somebody that don't like to, you know, feel like I'm this figure. That's why I always try to, like, you know, be one. And I do like to, like, you know, include everyone. I want to be treated just like a white person in a sense. You know, I want to have all of us to be treated I you know, in the same. I want all of us to have this, you know, same thing. But at the end of the day, it was a time that it did hurt because you lost a lot of people, you know, that we thought were friends, and their comments was, you know, tough. So we just, sometimes you just, for me, I didn't want to speak freely, and that felt like it wasn't even me. You know what I'm saying? I like to myself and, you know, say wild things just for conversation purposes. Like if you know me, you know how I really think, you know how I really feel. And now it's just like, damn, I gotta walk on eggshells around you. Like, are you really my friend? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah, Twitter had got to the point where it had gotten to the point where if you had a dissenting opinion, people weren't willing to listen to it. But also, your opinion wasn't getting listened to anyway because it wasn't spicy enough, right? Like you could say something that mattered. You could say a complete sentence that mattered, that made sense, everybody could agree with, can get behind. But on Twitter, you don't hear it like that. In Twitter, it's not good enough. Or on Twitter, like that was offensive, but it could have been worse, right? So then you have people who go the complete opposite direction, and then they say, all right, I'm gonna say the spiciest thing I can think of to get engagement. And then from there, you get the arguments and you get the threads and you get all that kind of stuff. And you get people battling and losing friends and family and all this other stuff, when Twitter was never made to be an app to have meaningful conversation. It actually started off, we'll find out in this documentary, literally it's like a throwaway app. You could go on, use 140 characters and say whatever. Somebody might see it, somebody might not see it. Now, Nicole, we're up to what, 280 characters. You can have video. Some people can have unlimited video, it seems. Twitter Blue, Twitter Premium, all this other stuff. It's completely evolved from a time where you just say whatever you want and walk away to where now all of this stuff is meaningful engagement. You talking to somebody, that's interaction with somebody, and then your tweets, it in a sense is you meeting that person. That is your conversation. That's your interaction with that person, and it can very much shape the way you look at somebody, Nicole.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think a big thing that stood out to me, I went to school for journalism. I cover entertainment because that's what I choose to do. But I think I loved that the documentary highlighted what Black Twitter did for journalism during those uprising and protest. What white journalists usually typically do is the types of pictures they want to pick of someone who was victimized by the police to try to make it seem it was somehow warranted. And then we had that trend of the picture that they would probably use for us. Instead of the family photo, they're going to use the one where you're going out popping bottles and stuff like that to create a narrative. During the protest, there are people who were on the ground, and, you know, I believe journalism is a craft and everything, but the same way that Twitter has democratized other things, I think it also kind of democratized on-ground reporting. So we're not just taking from like CNN and these big outlets of what's happening over here, and they will always go to the police spokesperson for what's happening. Now, someone who is just from the local neighborhood can be like, actually, we just saw the police do this, this, and this. It's taking this long. They're treating us this way. And they can't have the full narrative. And that's kind of heartbreaking that that's even necessary, because doing that exposes you to trauma. That's why I did not decide to go into that journalism. But it's a good balancing act, because now us as the greater community, Black community, really knows what happens. Because I think that's also in a bigger influence when it comes to like respectability politics. I don't know if your guys' parents are like this, but the way I was raised was a lot of respectability politics. So you do not get harmed by the police. That's what they thought would do. And I like that the narrative in episode 2 around that is like, kind of fuck respectability politics. This is still going to happen. It happened to Trayvon Martin, who's just a child with Skittles and a soda. So yeah, that was long.
No, but it makes total sense, because I was definitely raised like that. I remember Twitter radicalized me in a lot of ways. I definitely, like, I would go to my mom and be like, "Can you believe this? Look at this. They're not even talking about this. You gotta post about. You gotta do stuff." And she would be like, "What are you talking about? Like, if you just mind your business." I'm like, no, you can't let this stuff stand. It really did just highlight a lot of stuff in the form of hashtag, really, that like I wasn't even paying attention to. So Twitter got very, very deep for a lot of people, especially over these last few years. But Black Twitter was one of those things that, again, it helped bring everybody together. And then I think the more interest white people started to take into it, the more they started to get involved. We talk about meme culture and memes becoming their own conversation. And I will say this, I know this for a fact. I see it every day with my own eyes. Jay West, you can attest to this. The best memes be Black people. And white folk gonna use them. It don't matter. They gonna use Nene Leaks. They gonna use all the big Black names. Tiffany Pollard, Tiffany from the cook. All of the big
even
Black
Davon,
exactly. These are Black people, Black reactions, Black memes, Black gifs, and they're getting used across the board, like by everybody. And that's a Twitter thing, Jay West. That stuff started here, and it's now just become almost like a second way of talking to people.
Yeah, like goes back to what I was saying. Like, we don't take shit serious, and what Nicole was saying when she was in journalism, she wanted to see diversity, basically. And I do a lot of things in my life. I did a lot of things in my life, and just sometimes just feeling like being the only me, I feel like I still have to be myself. So in Twitter, everyone speaking freely, some in my head, I'm like this is the place for everyone.
Are you using the Black Twitter gifs?
Yes, always the Jordan gifs, the dude throwing the hat up with all his boys behind him. I love the gifs. Like it's just like you have to draw reactions, basically, and it's just sometimes you don't take nothing serious, and sometimes people like, is that a serious response? And I'm like, bro, this is like my LOL.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, and there's no class for that, right? Or I'm sure there are now. Obviously, there should be. It's 2024. You should probably be teaching like internet and social media literacy to people who don't understand this kind of thing. There should be classes if there aren't. But we all learned this organically. Like, I know what it means when you send me the throw the hat up in the air. I get it automatically. It's like it's unspoken, but it started with us. And I don't think people talk about that enough.
And I think it also brought maybe a different form of activism. I know you talked about respectability politics and how we grew up, we, way back when there was marching, right? And in that process of marching, it was hoses and dogs and jail and etc. Right. And then it kind of turned the tide a little bit. It turned into more speeches, right? Dominating speeches. We got involved because we're more involved. We got into politics and things like that, lawmaking abilities, law changing abilities, etc. Right. Well, now because of social media, you have a way to bring attention to something that the masses might not pay attention to. And the way that you draw people in and we did this through comedy is through laughter. That's how you draw people in, right? So Nicole talked about earlier where you have the image of the person that's downtrodden or was shot, killed, or whatever, and you have the worst image of them in the newspaper. Well, what do? We make fun of it by putting our best and our worst pictures up against each other and put a hashtag attached to it. Oscar so white, a hashtag. It ain't truly funny, but let's draw attention to it by making it funny. And then now there's more eyes on it, right? That makes it a little bit more palatable for the folks that don't want to pay attention to it. I think this is a different form of activism. The LOL that you was talking about, Jay West, that's a different form of activism that we probably never really had before in this mass appeal, I would say.
Yeah, I love Black Twitter. I always have, but it's for those very reasons, Nicole. It's because of you can drop something. I understand what it is. Your hashtag, I get it. You get it. We talk in that language. We use the same gifs. But now it feels like we've let everybody in on the conversation, and we're just not getting the credit that we deserve for that. And I guess that's where I kind of like my issue is. It's like, okay, we're doing this. We built this. Let's talk about it though. Let's talk about who paved the way for some of these conversations. Because Black folk, historically, we will define a culture, and then they will try to overlook us in that same culture.
Yeah, try to say it's like Gen Z or just Gen Alpha, or it's just like internet speak. Something that also came to mind, which I kind of wish the documentary covered, but didn't, is because everyone does want to use the Black memes and the Black GIFs to communicate. And that's not always a Black person doing that. I kind of wish they dived in a little bit into internet blackface, which I don't know if you guys have ever heard, but there's just, sometimes it's just white people and other people of color knowing how dope we are and just wanting to emulate that, not really noticing, hey, you're only using like GIFs of Black women. Like, why? Well, it just connotes, I'm feeling, and it's like, what does that mean? And then a freaking politician was once caught and pretending to be a Black person on social media. And we know that shit happens because every time Black people are talking about some racism, there's always that one suspicious looking account that's like, well, I'm Black and don't feel that way. And it's like, are you?
Yep.
Are you? Like, and I don't know if that comes from American history of like minstrel. Like it's like, I'm sorry, but I wish there was more studies on that whole history and white people just like wanting to be in our skin. Like we did get out, but I want actual studies, because what do you mean white people are pretending to be Black online? And like, that's just it.
Yeah, digital blackface is a big deal on Twitter for sure. They touch on it a little bit, like Nicole said, in the documentary, where they talk about how in response to a lot of the hope and change and the all this Black community and this outreach and all this stuff that was going on during the Obama administration, you had all these random Russian bot accounts popping up and being like, I'm a Black person, and as a Black person, I disagree. I don't think none of this stuff is racist at all, blah, blah, blah. But this group, this panel in particular, is very equipped to talk about this because we come from the entertainment space when it comes to our Twitter, right? All of us, to some extent, we're in the reality TV, television space, where we're talking to people who are not required or even expected to use their own face and likeness on their accounts, right? Some of these accounts go in saying, I'm a Stan account. I am team Corey in America, Team Davon, Team Taylor. And so now you have this avatar of a person that you've seen on TV, but this person, that has nothing to do with this account at all. And we'll see, in these conversations about like the cookout on Big Brother, where we're talking about big Black alliances, where all these little Black faces will be popping up, having these conversations, but they just won't seem to understand how to use the slang, what we're talking about. They'll be bringing up reverse racism. And it's like, I don't think you're actually the little Black person that you're pretending to be. Jay West, you have been in the trenches against some of these accounts before. It's hard to know who you're talking to.
So that's funny. So look, once upon a time I played on a reality show, being a three of only people of color. And then I got asked to play reality TV again, the same show, and it was more people of color, and I felt like it was connection to complexion. I can finally say nigga, like when I'm talking trash, and I don't know who going to size me up, because like it's just that much of a better game. And sometimes people hate that, like, you know, black people are going after black people, but we just want to be included. Like I was saying in the beginning, I want to pull up in any neighborhood, but I feel like black people, we really can, because there is a hood everywhere. White people, they can't do that. So sometimes we need a white friend to actually shed light to the things. No, seriously, like I love Rob Sestanino. He the homie. Like he actually put podcasts on my eyes, because playing reality TV, that was the first fucking network that podcasted me, and I ain't know shit about podcasting. And he show love to you, and I'm like, yo, Chappell, homie, he talk real shit. I got hella Q homies around here, and I just love all of it. And then he put you on this space, and I'm like, you need a white ally, you know, and like just to hear you out and then let you do your thing, you know what I'm saying? But to still have your own voice, it's hard, because it's always about support, and black people low-key want to gatekeep sometimes. And it's like, we got to be wild. We got to show our ass, because look, we can go to the hood and we see a Chinatown and they only want to support, like, we can go anywhere. And it's like, we just got to support each other more, or we going to have to pull in alliances from all over and they're going to keep copying us. Yeah, we're going to still go viral. Like, if we got the best on every network, you know what I'm saying?
Look,
it's black.
I think we do define a lot of the culture, and I will give a shout out to Rob as well. Rob definitely made a space for me on his network. But if Rob then decides, because he made a space for Chappell, he's now got a hood pass and he can now go do all the things and say all the things, Rob is going to be subject to whatever response he gets. I can't protect him, nor will I, and he knows this, nor will I. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can be an ally without having to pretend to be me. And I think on Twitter, a lot of people lose sight of that, where they go in, they say, I'm the Davon stand, so thus all my emojis are Dave, or my GIFs are Davon, all my memes are Davon. I'm talking like Davon, and this, that, other. When in reality, you're putting on a character and you're arguing with real people. We are not pretending to be anybody else online. We are who we are. And then you're arguing with a 19-year-old Big Brother stan about such, and you're like, wait, you don't even know what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about some really personal stuff to you, to me, and you're talking to me like it's a game. Tyrone, I've seen people using black people emojis. When they change the color of the skin emojis, why, white people, did you go change your color? You could have just stayed with the Homer Simpson yellow, but then they gave you white. They gave you whitish. You did not have to go use black emojis to be sassy. I don't understand.
Yeah, they did it. I don't. I mean, it's not a way. I don't know what to do. Right? I don't know what to do about it. I honestly don't. It's kind of like when Trump stepped in and basically won his campaign by taking over Twitter. That's basically what he did. And when we build something to a certain level, but we are still the minorities in the group, like, I don't know what to do when somebody else comes in and swoops in and takes it over. Sometimes I do want to say, you know what, I want to go back in my bubble. Let me not befriend all of these people. Let me just talk to the people that I know, who faces I can see at times, and just have those conversations. Because even within our own community, they brought up Kevin Samuels. I remember them Black Twitter conversations. That was tragic.
It got real
tragic.
Yeah, there's a lot of subtypes in Twitter. Okay, so we've talked about the sub community that we're in. We have a lot of reality TV entertainment. That's kind of a lot of what we get. But then you got like the NBA Twitter, where when you log on, you know by the account you following, that's what they're gonna be giving you, the retweets, all that stuff. And so you're basically in a giant group chat with those people, right? Well, then you have like the subgroups within Black Twitter, even. So NBA Twitter probably is like a a blackish, everybody's involved, but it's very black. It's very black. But then you get to like Shea Butter Twitter, as they talked about, the super woke people who you can't laugh and joke with. You gotta stay away from Shea Butters because they're gonna take it personally. But then the hoteps, the people who will use their own misogyny as a weapon and say, okay, well, it's okay if I do it because I've been historically oppressed, and we have to uplift my black ass. And so I personally try to avoid those areas of Twitter. But Nicole, it gets hard to kind of try to be in a Black Twitter space and then realizing that all these Black people aren't necessarily like-minded just because y'all can share the same GIFs and memes.
For sure. I think it's also so important of just who you follow and everything like that, trying to affect the algorithm, but there's always different voices there. I mean, when you brought up NBA, I was like, what? Like, maybe, but no, that's very true. Another slight critique I had of the documentary is that it took too long. It took to the third episode for someone to say gay, because I was like, yes, like a lot of the culture and the language that we have now that's so popularized is gay. It's Black and gay, period, shade, all of that. And I was just like, yeah, when are we gonna say it? We're talking to Dr. Roxanne Gay, and we haven't said anything gay.
They won't say her name. Yeah.
They won't say her name.
Say her name. And yeah, so it was really nice when they did that panel with queer people out the bar. Another is just women. Like, I was so proud of all of the women who made hashtags like Oscars So White and actually affected change that got so many young and people of color into the Academy. Like, that's just concrete change in the real world that happened because of Black Twitter and because of a Black woman. So yeah, and they actually didn't talk about like Me Too, which started because of a Black woman. So that was very interesting. But yeah, I think I'm just like very, very proud of the women and how they were able to affect everything. Also, another woman that I could not believe was not name dropped this whole entire documentary, Shonda Rhimes.
Right.
Yeah, and they talked about Scandal. And they talked about
Scandal. They didn't say her name.
But they didn't say her name. Yeah.
But before even Scandal, Shonda Rhimes was having those Grey's Anatomy actors who are still in the trenches, by the way. She had them tweeting every week during the episodes. They would interact with fans, just like Chappell said. And that's how so many of her shows have become a big thing. Now it's kind of like a requirement for some of these shows. They have their actors tweet during the shows. That all started because of Shonda.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, she deserves every dollar. She's still collecting, but I just wanted to say that because we were sat for Insecure every week, but it was Shonda who really saw that opportunity first.
Right. The TV hashtags are great. Go ahead, Tyrone.
No, I was saying I'm just so glad you brought up the gay community, because growing up, right, my ignorance, I didn't have a lot of knowledge about everything that the gay community went through. Like, my introduction into the gay community was like Dawson's Creek and watching Jack McPhee. That was my introduction into the gay community. So I didn't even have an introduction into the Black gay community. And I learned a lot of my information and all of the things that the community goes through and has to deal with through Black Twitter. And we talk about it, right? Even the negative things that Black Twitter put the gay community through was rough for me to see, because I'm like, even though I have no understanding of it, I never thought that way. So I don't understand why there's so much disdain or so much ignorance from that standpoint, like negative ignorance, not like unknowledgeable or don't know ignorance, right? But just spewing negativity and lack of inclusion, when the thing that we are fighting for on Black Twitter and before that and will be after that is inclusion. So how do you exclude a group of people from something that you are trying to not be excluded from? It was just a weird thing. But I appreciate Black Twitter, both sides of things, because I just didn't have a lot of knowledge about that community. So yeah.
I think y'all both make great points. Nicole specifically pointed out how women and queer Black people have built a lot of what the culture just uses so heavily now. Like she said, period, shade, it's giving, all that kind of stuff will start on a Black Twitter, a Black tweet or a Black show or a Black character or a Black drag queen or something like that. And then boom, it's on Twitter. And then from Twitter, everybody's using it. And it's on TikTok. And then on TikTok, okay, then it finally makes it to Facebook, because that's where the olds be at. So it takes a little bit to get to Facebook. And then boom, next thing you know, you see it on a Nissan commercial and somebody's getting out of their Swagger wagon. I'm old enough to remember when Swagger was Swagger. swagger, then it was a swagger wagon, and I was on Twitter for all of that, and I was like, dang. Hey, jump the shark right now. Like I can tell that now we're not using it anymore. We're done with that. But you made such a good point, Kid Fury, a big voice in this one. From the really hyping up and leading these hashtags that we were talking about scandal, we're talking about insecure, we're talking about dim thrones. We're like I said, we're all TV people here. If you're not putting a hashtag on your tweet, then it's like you're not in the conversation about the tweet. Like I tweeted it, I missed my hashtag. Let me go put it back in there because I need somebody to either see this or I need it to be on record. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Hell, even now, maybe you want to mute it. You don't want to hear me talking about Grey's Anatomy all day. So I put the hashtag there so you can avoid my tweet. So all that stuff goes back to Black people, but specifically Black and queer women and women, you know, like people, like these are the people who did this. Black men, we get to sit back and just like get to own some of this stuff sometimes. Like, yeah, Black people did this, but we push back sometimes so heavily against that stuff. Like, you know, it's like, oh yeah, people are saying period now. It's like, well, that seems a little feminine. I'm not gonna say it. Now you say period, nobody flinches because it becomes so part of the culture, it's so part of the zeitgeist that it's everywhere. And I was a television tweeter. I'm talking about them thrones. Check my stats. Scandal. Don't check my stats. Problematic tweets from Chappell back then was I was in the trenches. It was horrible back then. Look, fighting for my life.
You were tweeting now.
I was Team Jake. Just no, I'm joking. But also, you know, insecure. Look, insecure. I was a Lawrence Hive person. Okay, so I was fighting demons. Okay, fighting for my life. But the conversations were so good, and we learn in the documentary that a lot of those hashtags really bolstered the show's viewership. Right? It's like people were talking about it, and it became marketing for the shows. Now we just use our hashtag because that's how we find our people. All right, we're going to look for the people who are talking about all these reality shows that we watch. Jay West, Big Brother is about to roll around, and I know you've already seen the hashtag popping up. It's time.
Yes, I've seen the hashtags popping up. I'm excited for Big Brother to start. I'm a different watcher than you guys. Like you guys are super invested in Big Brother. I love Big Brother, but I love what they show us on TV. I don't dive deep on the live streams live feeds because me personally, I'll trust Terrence's word or trust Chappell's word or someone's word for it because I'm like, look, don't fuck with Buddy because like he racist. But at the end of the day, like they act like that for a reason. And this is a show, and I played, like I said, I played the game when it was just 3 people of color, and I felt like we had to just be ourselves, but we still had to like, you know, vote together. But we just had this. Like, you know, we really want to play with each other, but we don't trust each other because it's a game. But then the next game I played the same game. It's like it's more people of color and it's a connection. So now I love that reality TV is adding diversity. The shows that we watch now is showing diversity, and we can just pull together, like, you know, to put things on the map more. Like Chappell gonna be like, yo, Black Twitter's still a thing. Like, I ain't gotta leave. We can keep this shit. Ain't nothing that he can take from us. Like, you know, it's still here.
And your point definitely points back to what Nicole was saying, where you start these conversations about the Me Too movement, Oscar so white, Black Lives Matter. You have those conversations on Twitter, they blow up. The greater population outside of Twitter realizes it and then tries to make social change because of it, right? So we saw CBS and all these other companies say, all right, obviously people want diversity now based on all these tweets we're getting. It's like a petition. Like we see all these tweets, we hear you. We hear y'all boycotting, y'all unfollowing our accounts, all that kind of stuff. Let's give you something, right? And so then they go and they do these diversity initiatives. And now we have 5 or 6 Black people on these reality shows where in the past, if you apply, like you said, Jay West, it might be 3 people of color, not Black, but 3 people of color.
Like I started watching Survivor because of Wendell, because I'm from Philly area. And I'm like, oh, exactly. Shit, you won? Oh, yeah. Fuck. And then I was like seeing Davey play, and I was like, that was the very next season. I'm like, yo, Survivor is that shit. I liked it because it was a physical aspect in the beginning, but then really being invested into the Black characters, I'm like, yo, they really playing a game and they really trust them. Like, that's what I'm thinking. And I'm like,
and didn't the Survivor Diversity campaign start on Twitter as well. You know what I mean? So it all kind of is in sync and goes together. You know what I mean? So it's I mean, honestly, there's a different reasons that a lot of people can go to Black Twitter. You can go for the discussion threads. Not for me. I'm there for the hilarity. I'm there, you know, if there's something big that happens on, you know, like a big event that's a little traumatic, then I might lean on Black Twitter for a little support at these days. But give me the funny. That's what I want. I want the funny. I learned that.
Yeah,
from Black Twitter.
Black Twitter, and people won't tell you. Okay, that was a drag queen, y'all, Black drag queen, by the way. But you know, whatever. They won't talk about it, right? But you have to have these docu-series, and you have to have people who are willing to document these things, because we'll lose it. This is becoming part of our history. Like the movements that we saw don't happen without Twitter. So it's not something we can just acknowledge. And like Jay West said, we can't gatekeep that. We have to tell this story, because then people will say, oh, okay, it's not like the white people just woke up one day and said, you know what? Let's give the Black people some more stuff, right? Like, I think we're being a little too hard on the Black folks. No, it took tweets. It took organizing. It took all that stuff that started on Twitter and that led to bigger. Honestly, I got hired onto RHAP as a diversity initiative during that time. A lot of us did. It was during that time. So without those tweets, without all the stuff that's surrounding that time during the pandemic, where people are just at home tweeting over and over again, talking about diversity, talking about needing more characters, talking about the lack of diversity, you don't have those moments, then you don't get the podcast. I don't get the opportunity to podcast that I got, right? And we don't get these spaces where people are looking for Nicole's podcast, right? For her very specific group of people that says, okay, like, I don't see me, but I see Black by Reality, and that speaks to me. They come to my podcast. They say the same thing, the Reality Kingdom. Now, all of a sudden, Taryn's not the only voice for Big Brother. And it helps because Taryn ain't Black. So there's a lot of stories that these CBS people have not been telling because they didn't have no Black people on staff. They didn't know how to tell these stories. Even the podcasters, they didn't know any of these Black experiences. So now we get to come into these conversations, give our own points of view, and really expand people's worldview in the way that they watch these shows. And it all goes back to Black Twitter. So incredible time talking to y'all. It's been an hour. I told y'all I keep it tight, but that was so much fun. Is there anything else y'all wanted to highlight before we go? Nicole, you got anything to add?
I think I made sure to mention the women and the gays. So
look, and without them, none of this positive Black shit would be possible. Jay West, thank you for joining me here on Recap Kickback for your first one.
Thank you so much. Guys, I'm Wild West. It's Wednesday, so I say Wild West Wednesday shit. You can follow me on social media. I make random rants every morning. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I love talking just in general. You know, I love being around people, and I talk shit on Twitter if you want to fuck with me. But thanks for having me, bro. It's been a pleasure.
Jay West, don't forget to let people know what you got working on your YouTube page with your spades content.
Yeah, so if we at the best area right now. If you guys know spades, obviously we know spades, and I wanted to shed light to the game spades, Chappell. So, and I'm like, anybody can play spades. It's not just a Black thing, but I wanted to have people play spades, and I wanted to turn it into like a reality TV sense. Like, you can have confessionals, and if you want to play spades, get with me. We can make you, Tyrone. You see, you can play with Chappell, and I can play with Nicole. We can run shit. You feel me? And it's strategic. You know what I'm saying? Spades is entertaining. I thought of that idea because one day I was watching fucking poker on TV. I love poker, but it's boring as hell to watch. And I'm like, absolutely. Oh, you could travel the world as a 2-player team. We can run this shit. So you know what I'm saying? That's my idea. I had people actually recording, but you know, just get with me. I'm still in the works for it, and yeah, just look out for it.
Yes, subscribe to Jay West's YouTube account. Subscribe to his social media so you get more updates on the spades content, because he's been working hard on it. He's got it coming soon, but you'll miss it. Again, we were going to try to do like a little crossover thing where we maybe get some spades going on here, but the timing wasn't working out. Mari took a leave of absence for obvious reasons, so we weren't able to get it going. But we are all waiting patiently for Jay West to release the spades footage. Okay, so keep an eye on that. Make sure you keep up with Jay West. Jay West, thank you for coming. Nicole, thank you again. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, if you enjoyed my takes on here, please follow Black by Reality podcast. We talk about reality TV through a Black queer lens, as I am the head bisexual baddie on the podcast. We are talking about I Kissed a Girl, which is a British show, but get the VPN, it's worth it. And Perfect Match is coming up, and Big Brother. So, like Chappell said, if you want more Black voices, Black queer voices for your upcoming Big Brother season, please add me to the roster.
Hey, thank you, Nicole. Nicole, did you watch Challengers?
Oh, I know that's my brand. I know, but I have not yet. I know.
See, that's a mistake. See, because I was going to reach out to you to have you on the podcast where we did it, but our recording time was very like off. So I was like, I don't want to bother Nicole this late. But so I ain't want to bother
me. I needed to take myself to the movies, and I will. I just need to be in the right.
Or if you need the link, just saying.
Absolutely. See, that's what I need.
You know what I'm saying? That's why we're at the kickback. That's what we do here. You know
I want to watch it with my partner. My partner has ADHD. Like, we're going to have to pause, discuss before the threesome happens and all that.
Oh, so you're going to have to. We're going to start a group text. Me, you, LaTanya, your partner. Look, go ahead and get. No worries. Challengers content coming your way. Tyrone, thanks again, man.
Yeah, man. I had a great time. Nicole, Jay West, first time podcasting and meeting with y'all. It was a blast. Nicole, I'm definitely going to tune into Black by Reality for sure. Or follow it and then tune into the podcast. And then Jay West, I just came from a space table last night. Yo, I'm just, I'm trying to play. I'm just saying,
I played last night too, so I'm with it.
That's what I'm saying. I bust a couple of heads last night. You know what I mean? Went a little Boston on a game. You know what I mean? So I'm
about to say playing sweet people. Like I've never seen Boston.
Yeah. No, listen. We ain't go where
that's Tom Brady with the shape up.
I see you. Okay,
right there.
He's different. Thank you so much, Ty.
So it was a good time. Happy to be here for more.
And you'll be back. You definitely will be back. And then, of course, y'all know what it is. RecapKickback.com. That's where you can find the podcast. Moving forward, we're going to wrap up this coverage of Abbott Elementary. Me and Gia are we're coming up on our finale, so we're going to knock that out for you all. Sasha and I are covering Summer's House, Martha's Vineyard, so that's almost done. And then I got some other stuff in the chamber, working on some things for the summertime. So you got to tune in to RecapKickback.com and our YouTube page, youtube.com/@RecapKickback for that information and more. And make sure you're following on social media at Recap Kickback on all social media platforms. But for this entire panel and for those amazing panelists on the Black Hulu documentary, quick shout out to Van Lathan, April Rain, Dr. Andre Brock. There's so many names. Kid Fury, Dr. Meredith Clark, Lovey. I used to follow Lovey back in the day. Roxanne Gay, all the people, all the icons of Twitter. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank y'all for checking out this positive Black content. And I will talk to you all next time because you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell up out of here. Peace out.